I'm gonna record some ambience and put it in this track.
Hi, it's Sanaya Kayla here, and I'm back with another video, another interview, I should say. So, we're continuing my series interviewing some black businesses, and today I have with me the amazing Joseph, the owner of Amarachi Bar in Brooklyn.
Yes, Amarachi Restaurant,
Yes, restaurant.
downtown Brooklyn. Yes.
Downtown. So, I just want to ask you, like, where did you grow up?
That's a great question. I grew up. I started in the Bronx, right, and then after first grade, my parents moved back to Nigeria. So I spent the next 10 years in Nigeria, and I came back for high school, back to the Bronx, and I attended Manhattan Center High School.
So, did you like growing up in the Bronx, or did you like growing up in Nigeria? Like, which one did you like better?
Well, I spent a lot more time in Nigeria, so definitely my personality, the person who I am, really was developed in Nigeria.
Right. So, like, did you miss Nigeria when you had to move back to the Bronx?
They forced me to come back. They almost tricked me to come back because I was very comfortable. I built, friendships, relationships over the years. And, as a kid, that's all you could think about,
Right.
My friends. And when I go back to over there, I don't know anybody. So I was very scared of coming back, and it was really difficult for me because I had to adjust. With the language barrier, the culture, the style, I was off, so
Right.
it took a while.
Right. So, I wouldn't even know. Honestly, talking to him, I wouldn't even know that you're from Nigeria because it seems like you got the language and everything down pat.
I didn't listen. They used to call me African booty scratch and all that. I didn't like all of that, so I had to get with the program very quickly.
Oh my goodness! No, I saw that on TikTok. There's like a trend of like this whole African booty scratching thing. People are getting called out about that. And it is a real thing because I've even heard people call each other that in school. So I know that that's true. Even if you're not even like, from Africa, they still call you an African booty scratcher if your skin is dark. So I get that. Yeah. The next question is like, how did you get to opening the restaurant?
Okay, that's a great question. My family at the time owned a clothing company called Nigerian Fabrics and Fashions. And so we were very comfortable practicing as business owners and just the lifestyle of entrepreneurism. And going to get a 9 to 5 just was never in our outlook. So it was like, okay, as we're doing fashion, what can we do to complement the fashion? So it was natural for us to go into the nightlife. So we opened up a bar lounge in Bed-Stuy called Amarachi Lounge. And then from there, we were there for 10 years. And just natural maturation, there's a certain luxury for a venue to have food. And we didn't have that on Franklin Avenue.
Oh, you had it on Franklin.
You have it on Franklin. Yes, we used to have it on Franklin Avenue. And we didn't have that luxury of serving food. I used to cook in my house or my apartment and bring it to the restaurant. And it was like, it was cool for my friends just to have something to eat, but that was no way to have a business. So when we found a place that had a full kitchen where we could really do what we enjoy doing as well and expand the business and culture, we decided to move here on Bridge Street.
Wow, okay, that's really cool. So, like, what was the hardest thing about starting up your own business? And also, another question in this question is, why did you wanna? You said, like, I heard you say 9 to 5 wasn't really like an option for us. Like, why is that?
I just feel that I've always been a person that thinks outside the box, and I wanted the freedom to express myself, right, and live the world the way I understand it, right? And a lot of times, people are. You're in that set schedule, right? So you wake up, you got to go to work, you got to be on time. If you're not on time, you get in trouble. You got to work till 5 o'clock. If you can't leave early if you have an emergency. So everything you put everything else of your life on hold till you have 2 weeks of vacation and holiday time. And I just think I couldn't see going through an entire year just on that cycle, right? Now, business ownership is probably more demanding, right, physically and more time, but you have your freedom. You can decide when you want to get up, right? If you're a smart business owner, you're obviously not going to compromise your business. So you're going to do everything you need to do to get your business going. But you have the luxury of saying, hey, you know what? My kid needs me in school today. I'm not going to work. You call someone, if you know, hey, you do this while I go handle, rather than having to go through the obstacles of taking time off and all that in a 9 to 5. So you have freedom.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I see a lot. Like with my parents, because both of my mom and my dad, they worked in 9 to 5. And like, it's very strict. Like they had to I had to be in school for 12 hours a day after school just so, because I had nobody to come get me. And like, you have to like miss certain things that you have going on with your kid because you have to, exactly. So I completely understand that. Now, what was the hardest thing about starting your own business? Because like you said, it's very demanding. Like a lot of times starting your business is harder.
I mean, obviously you need capital, you need money, and you need a good amount of money to be able to have something like this. And, you know, over the years we had developed enough equity, whether through our buildings or what have you, other businesses, to be able to afford to come down here, right? So, and down here is expensive. We're downtown. We're in the most expensive zip code in Brooklyn. So, and then we're coming downtown to not necessarily do a mainstream thing. We're selling African food. You know, there's not, you're not going to find a whole bunch of us down here, right? So we struggle to find an identity and find our customer base being in this location. But I think the strength of, you know, our personality, who we are, and what we do, the quality of what we were given, allowed us to be here for 8 years. You know, it's a testament of the hard work that we put in that we've been able to survive this long. Seeing that there is no foot traffic and we're not in a community that necessarily serves us.
Right. Okay. Was there any history of your family being like having their own businesses like in Africa or just period?
Absolutely. So my parents, they owned a clinic, maternity home in Nigeria. That's the background that we come from. So obviously they wanted me to be a doctor, but that didn't work out too well. I ended up in the food. So I was always raised to be outside of the box, right. You know, per se.
So you have that entrepreneurial spirit in your blood. Now you mentioned something like that was really important because it is really hard to open New York is one of the hardest states to open a restaurant in period and to keep it open. So like, if you had any advice for somebody who's trying to open their own restaurant who is a minority, what would you say to them?
Okay, it's very important to have a vibe, right? You have to have a vibe. Like, you come into Amarachi, you're going to feel it immediately. There's something different about this place, right? And that's intentional. You know, we want a certain type of music. We want a certain type of lighting. We want a certain type of stuff on the television, right? So you connect with people and make people feel comfortable, right? And then your product got to be good, you know? Make sure that you want to do food, make sure your food tastes good. Yeah. You know, make sure you're not just making food to make food. You know, make sure other people tell you, your food is really good, right, you know, right, before you go out there, because the reality is 90% of businesses close, you know, within the first 5 years. And then you would have invested so much money and time and energy into something and it doesn't pan out, right? Then also you want to look at your location, you know. Is your location feasible for what you want to do? I don't advise anyone to take on the challenge I took of. Mine was more of a political Pan-Africanist position where I said, listen, they're pushing us out of Brooklyn. I'm going to go into their territory. I'm not going to allow them to push us and dictate, you know, where we're going to be in Brooklyn. I want to be downtown. I want to represent my people downtown because I'm the only person here. And I wouldn't recommend everyone to do that. You know, I'm crazy enough, but that's how passionately I feel about our people and how we're viewed. I like the fact that as you're coming off the Manhattan Bridge, the first thing you see is Amarachi. That means something. It means something to every African that knows what Amarachi means. So it's a political move. But what I would suggest is, you know, find a location that works for your demographic. You know, if you're making curry food, be around people that like curry. You know, it just makes the job that much easier and for you to gain exposure that much quicker. Also, you know, your online platforms work within a certain radius of your restaurant. So you want to be in a radius that you have people that like what you're serving.
Yes. So wait, you said something about like what Amarachi means. What does Amarachi? Because
It means God's grace.
God's grace.
Yes.
And
In the Igbo language.
did you pick that?
That is my mother's name, actually.
That's your mom's
Yeah, I
name? Oh my God,
dedicated
that's so
this to
cool.
my mom. Yes.
So is it your mom's recipes too? Because you were like, the food tastes good or whatever. So is it her recipe?
You know, I can't say that per se, but my mom, obviously, you know, the love for food came from my mom's kitchen. Like I said, I'm just a person that's always outside the box. So the idea of pairing jollof rice, which is Nigerian, with jerk chicken, which is from Jamaica, is something I did. My mom never made jerk chicken in our house. But when I come to the kitchen now, you see how I'm pairing it because of my experience marrying a Trinidadian woman. So, you know, it's that kind of expression. So that's why I say, like, certain things come from my mom, but at the end of the day, it's about how I see it.
Yeah, you molded it into what you wanted it to
Exactly.
be, into your vision. So like, is it like, if you describe the style of food here, like fusion?
Yes, it's definitely a fusion of African culture, Caribbean culture, and American culture because we spent most of our years here in America. So it's also important to you know, as Africans, as Caribbean people, it's important to let Black Americans know that we are one because you see a lot of schism and a lot of people trying to cause division amongst us as a people, and it's really ridiculous. So it's important for us to have a component where an African American can come here and see a burger and see mac and cheese and see, you know, steak and salmon and say, okay, cool. You know, I don't have to eat eba or a pound of yam my first try, but if I like it here, I'll come back and eventually I'll get into the oxtail, I'll get into the curry chicken. Yeah. But initially, they don't have to. They can stay in their comfort zone. They can have calamari or they can have wings. You know, so that's how we introduce Amarachi to people. And like I said, over time, you realize, like, look, I like it here. I want to try something new. And then you know, like, whoa, this tastes like that. This tastes, you know. So you find out all the similarities we have amongst our people.
Okay, so, yeah, I like how it's so inclusive here, like how you try to be so inclusive to include everybody because, as you said, there is a lot of division. Like, on TikTok, I've been seeing so many wars between Caribbean people, African people, and Black American people. And it's just like, I don't get it. I really don't. Everybody has their part in it, but I really like how he's trying to bring everybody together instead of just trying to cause more divisions. Right, exactly.
How we get further. You know, we have to unite our minds, our resources, our what we believe. You know, our doctrines. They have to be on a certain accord so that we can take that one step further. You know, and that's just really how I see it. The formula for us to win collectively is for us individually to get together, hold hands, and move on.
Right. So the next question is, like, what's the best part of owning your business? Like, what is the best part of the business for you?
The best part, honestly, is that I had the decision at a certain time when I felt the business could sustain itself to return back and to being a super dad, right? And spending more time with my children that I probably, if I worked for someone, I never get to make that decision, you know. So, you know, my kids right now are waiting for me to go to RPM, you know, but they gotta wait a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's just so much fun being a super dad and watching them develop and being able to invest my time and with them so they can develop and eventually take over what I've established. Like right now, my daughter, that's my first daughter, she's in culinary school. She's in college. She's 16. So, you know, So in a very short time, she's going to be graduated and with her degrees, and she can officially take over and start playing a role in this business.
That's amazing that she's in college at 16 years old. That's wow. How was she able to accomplish that?
We did homeschooling for a few years, you know, and that helped her a lot. We had some other schools that we went to that were very instrumental, but it's really about, you know, demanding your kids to be greater. You know what I mean? So making sure that they're doing their work, making sure they're not, you know, wasting their time, you know, doing other things and keeping them focused in this time, because this is the time, this period of their life is the most important time that's going to shape their future. So you got to take advantage of every moment. So, you know, their mom is way worse than me. She's on them 24. Even on vacation time, she has them doing work. So the culmination is that. she did so much work that she passed all the requirements for her to graduate high school, and that's what we did. She passed all the requirements. She took the exam to go into college, and she aced it. So boom, she's in college.
That's amazing. Wow. Congrats to your daughter. Really, congrats to her. Now, is everybody are all your kids included in the family business, or do you plan to include them soon?
Absolutely, they're all included, even down to my 10-year-old JoJo. He got to carry some groceries inside when we go shopping. So you keep them involved. They have to understand the value of time and work. They see me get up every day, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., dedicated to my craft, and understand everything we have comes from that there's no easy way out. You don't get to Daddy just doesn't sit home and do nothing all day and, we get to live a comfortable life. No, Daddy has to bust his behind. They were here last night waiting for me till 10:30. I was DJing. So, they got to wait a little bit. They got, but they understand. It's never a complaint. They understand what's going on. So, on the way home, we stop, we get their favorite drinks, and we go, we go to bed, so, there's always a give and take. We have fun with it.
So, you would say that you're a hands-on owner, because I hear you saying, DJ,
I made the drinks for you. How's the drink? See, I make drinks. I'm the head of the kitchen. You name it. I try to do it all.
Do you wait tables?
Yeah, I wait tables. I take dirty dishes, everything.
Oh,
you have to. You have to.
So, do you plan to step back? Because I know there's a time where you don't do dishes.
Absolutely. When there's always a time. When that time is. When you could take a step back, but you got to make sure you have someone that can try to fill in the shoes,
Right. Because you would hate to have done all this and then you pass it on, and then it just goes crumbles.
Well, you gotta, even though you're not here, you gotta stay up on it. On my phone, I have an app where I get to watch what's going on in here in real time. So, they'll be over there talking. Hey, you over there, go by the, so absolutely, you gotta stay on them. So, it's not, even though I'm resting in my house, you're still watching and you're still observing, making sure everything is going smoothly.
Okay, so another question I have is I asked what's the best thing that you like about the business, but currently what's the worst thing? What's something that you don't like about having your own business that's negative?
That's a great thing. That's a great question. The worst thing about ownership is that, yes, sometimes when you are tired, you don't get to go home. You have to push through to see the end out, and sometimes that takes an enormous amount of physical strain, but that's really just the worst. Sometimes you don't get to do what you want to do. You have to do what's in the best interest of the business. And sometimes it means staying till 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, whatever. Sometimes I had to be the dishwasher because the dishwasher called out. So I got to get back there. Yeah. And I hate washing dishes, but I had to do it.
Yeah, so how do you deal with that? As a boss, what type of boss are you? When somebody wants to call out, are you a lenient boss? Do you get are you upset?
I take offense.
he hurts your feelings when people call out.
No. You know what? If you let people, if you give them the impression that they can do that, they will continue to do it. And think that it's not. He don't mind. He's all no. It's not all good, because when you call out, you're putting stress on somebody else that doesn't deserve to have that stress. So not just me, you're hurting. You're affecting other people, and then they feel that if you could do it, they could do it, and then it just creates a nasty cycle that just hurts your business ultimately.
Yeah, that's very true. So I asked for advice for other people starting out, but I know that. Would you consider yourself an immigrant? Would you consider yourself an immigrant, or would you consider yourself? Because I don't really know. Because you spent
That's a great question. I consider myself a Pan-Africanist. I consider myself a global African, right? I look at myself as the best representation of a black man, and that's really how I look at it. So I could be African today. I could be, I could try to speak West Indian a little bit, or I could be a regular African American black man you see every day on the street. So identify myself as, the global black experience.
So, but asking that, I have a question of somebody that's immigrating from Africa trying to make it here. Do you have any, not even just their own business, just period, because it's really hard to make it. Do you have any advice for them?
Study history. Understand. One of the things that we don't do as a people when we get here, we don't understand the black man's struggle in America. And we come very ignorant of what the sacrifice Black people have made in this country. And that's offensive. If you're coming into the country, understand the dynamic, know your role, know your place, and respect the history that's been laid before you. So that's the biggest thing I would teach, because they don't teach history in Africa, because Africa was still also colonized, and that means we didn't control our educational system. We understood the British and other things
they changed the names
that were important to us.
Yeah, they've changed names of things and everything else. So that's very, very true. So is there anything that you would like to improve about your business?
Absolutely. You always want to continue to invest in your business. Just upgrade, just maintenance, new furniture, new chairs, things that get your customers excited.
Yeah.
You always want to do that. New DJs, new music, so in the restaurant business, it's all about the newness.
Yes.
Everyone likes the newness.
Yes.
Because we all love taking pictures. People get tired of seeing the old pictures. They want to take new ones. So you want to give them something to take pictures of. So it's very important to continue to invest in a business.
Yes. And the last question I have for you is, what would you recommend? Like, if somebody was coming here, like, what would you say is the best meal, the best drink, everything?
It depends on where you come from, is what I would suggest.
Okay, so let's say my dad's family, Jamaica. Let's say they're from Jamaica.
So I'll have you try my jerk chicken, and I'll dare my skills against every Jamaican jerk chicken you've had, because I've had people tell me that I've made the best jerk chicken they've ever had. So for me as a Nigerian, I appreciate that, because, I'm rocking with the best. I'm making good jerk chicken. That's not supposed to happen.
I'm gonna have to see. So how about like the Nigerians? Like, what would you recommend?
I tell them to try my suya. I think I use a higher quality of meat. So my suya is juicier, is more tender, and way more flavorful.
We're gonna have to get Chuck. You feel me? But I'm really glad that you agreed to do this interview with me. Like I told you, a lot of because I'm young and I'm not. Because you asked me did you come with a network? And I was like, ugh. I felt like you were gonna tell me no, because I don't have a whole news network. That's the goal though. But
you saw my response. I'm very excited to have you. This is what I want our young people doing, because what else would you be doing? Would I want you to be out there just doing nothing? No, you're being constructive. You can say I've been doing this for 20, 30 years from now. You know what I mean? You've been doing. You're a veteran at this, and this is nothing that you went to school for. This is something you decided to do, and you're getting your craft together. You're getting ahead of the game. So absolutely, I'll support it.
Yes. Thank you so much. And because like I said, it was a speedy response. It was a speedy everything. So I'm really glad that I wasn't left in the dark. But again, thank you, Joseph, for everything. You guys, you better come to Amarachi. You better come try everything. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Period. Bye.
We appreciate you.